Good evening. This is Maestro Patella with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite modcast. Today we have a 1v1 on... No! Just kidding. We got a 3v3 on Angel Gate. First up, we got Noisy playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This spellcasting and manipulation hero is really good at annoying people, although he has some other weaknesses. His first teammate is Adila as the Space Marine Apothecary. Got a little bit of a purple color scheme. He is a healer who fights a little bit and does an okay job. Next up, we got Redbeard playing as the Kommando Nob, shooting a very, very powerful twin-linked shooter. The Kommando Nob is an infiltrating orc, sneaky orc, very subtle by orc standards. And on the other team, first off, we have Dark Riku playing as yet another Space Marine Apothecary. Next, we got Eerie right here playing as the Commissar Lord, trying to chase after some scouts that went into a building, but they closed the doors. He is a slightly tanky melee hero, does not have as much durability as most other melee heroes, but he also has a lot of support abilities. He can buff his own units by shooting them in the head. And then finally, we have Max Power playing as the Force Commander, Captain Diomedes. Captain Diomedes is good at fighting in melee. He can disrupt melee units, especially melee squads. He's good at dealing with those. And he can punch vehicles, which is also one of his biggest assets. So we got a game on Angel Gate. I'm actually very fond of this map, even though most people don't play it anymore, and I think some people maybe don't like it that much. Definitely produces some really crazy replays. But we've got short builds from everyone. Adila with a flamer attack and a single scout getting harassed by a sentinel, but it's really Adila who's the one harassing with this VP harassment, getting a cap on the red team's natural victory point, of all things. And this sentinel under a lot of pressure. Where are the guardsmen to support? They're off running. They're actually split up away from the sentinel, which is not really a good thing to do. I'm not sure why Eerie decided to split his sentinel away from his supporting guardsmen. He might lose the sentinel right here. 14 health. They're still chasing it into base, but I think it's going to be safe. So a quick double cap for the blue team, and actually I was going to say about to be a triple cap, but Noisy decides not to go for it. I guess he decides the triple cap isn't worth potentially losing the field presence of having his units take damage from those scouts in the building. And here, since we already have a flame attack so close right here, we could potentially have a bit of a generator bash, but Tactical Marines from, these are, I think, Riku's Tactical Marines, try to force off these Tactical Marines from Adila, but instead they get forced off. And I think he needs to start applying pressure on those generators with the Tactical Marines, but actually still just going for units, burning those scouts. One flies out of the building, and those scouts retreat as well. So blue team with a pretty dominating opening, but unfortunately Adila's not gonna get much of a gen bash off here, so I don't think he really got as much out of this early pressure as he could have gotten. I think really the best thing he could have gotten was more of a gen bash than he actually got. Maybe instead of going for Riku's Tactical Marines with his own Tactical Marines, he could have the Apothecary tie up those Tactical Marines while his Tactical Marines burn down the generators. I said Tactical Marine way too many times, man. Looks like Redbeard is having the better end of the fights on the bottom. This is one of the kind of awkward things about this map that, I mean, I guess I'd say it's one of the things that I like less about this map, and it's probably the thing that a lot of people like less about this map, which is just this contested central power, both of these contested central power nodes, which you kind of have to fight over, and controlling those can mean the difference in the game because you have a big tech advantage. But we have the Apothecary using his healing aura to support all these guardsmen, as well as these Catachan Devils, but Catachan Devils are taking hits from the grenade launchers, so that's actually taking their health down in chunks, and oh, way too many Doom Bolts. Guardsmen bunching around too much, and one Guardsman squad very nearly went down at 11 health, which was just a very, very close call from Eerie. As it is, he had an overextended Commissar Lord at some point. Eerie still overextending things a bit. Now he's overextending his Catachan Devils. They got disrupted by Assault Space Marines. He's going to lose a few Catachan Devil models. Only 2, not bad. 3, actually. But those Catachan Devils were pretty clearly overextended. And it's hard to tell just from looking whose Assault Space Marines are which. But either way, the red team takes the lead in that engagement. Riku with getting a 1-1-1-1 build, which is probably a pretty good build in teams. I don't think you see it as much in 1v1, because in 1v1 you usually want those double scouts. Looks like the Kommando Nob went down here, and now it is Max Power starting to take control of the bottom. So you get quite a bit of versatility and functionality out of having a 1-1-1-1 build out of Space Marines, I think, in teams. Of course, you don't necessarily need the map control as much. You need more fighting power. Double Raptors from Noisy. So this is a very awkward and unusual build that we see here from Noisy. And I think there are reasons why you very, very rarely see a build like this. First of all, Noisy is going to have a lot of trouble with AV in Tier 2. These Assault Space Marines these Tactical Marines really went into the wrong place. They had about a third of their health left, and they were going into a garrison, and they started getting hit with, oh my god, 2 models just went down there from the grenades. So that could have gone a lot worse for the Tactical Marines. I think if those Raptors had not gotten disrupted by the Sentinel, that probably would have been a wipe on the Tactical Marines. So very close call right there for Dark Riku. Those were that was his Tactical Marines. But so double Chaos Raptors. There are some problems with this build. Noisy is going to have a lot of trouble transitioning into Tier 2 when he might have to deal with vehicles, but he does take out the Sentinel with these double Raptors. So Noisy, there are certainly things that can work about this build, and Noisy can also, of course, rely on his teammates to provide the AV that he will definitely be lacking come Tier 2. Few players going to Tier 2. Redbeard, the first one to make it. Adila and Riku and Eerie also working on it. So Noisy is going to use his double Raptors to get off a little bit of a generator bash. Not a bad choice, considering you do have 2 melee units here, so higher DPS than ranged units. And they they took out 1 generator. If they had a little more time to work uncontested, they could have taken out more, or if they had more support, of course. Any Raptor models going to go down right here? Oh, 1 model goes down. But overall, pretty lucky actually to get out of there with a 5 out of 6 Raptor models. And Noisy kind of... his Raptors were kind of separated from the rest of his army. He does have Chaos Space Marines with Eternal War. They are basically his only source of ranged DPS. So it's nice to get as much efficiency out of as you can out of them by having them do a little bit more damage with Eternal War. It's really not that big of a boost. 20% sounds good, but the base DPS of Chaos Space Marines is not that high. It's usually not until you get a mark that the damage increase from Eternal War really starts stacking to some pretty incredible levels. But still helpful to get Eternal War on just Chaos Space Marines even in Tier 1. But looks like Red Team controlling the engagement this time. Both Adila and Noisy backpedaling a little bit, but I think these heretics are doing a very good job at sort of doing some artillery at range, whittling down Eerie probably a little faster than he can really basically, I don't know. Looks like Max Power did not have the winning end of that engagement. Maybe saw Sluggers in his retreat path and just decided to get out of there. Probably also tried to get away from some nastiness from these stick bombs. We have a Force Commander that has nothing but a teleporter pack, although he is now getting the Thunder Hammer. Meanwhile, over here, Devastator's still in the building, which is very nice. Ooh, so this is Noisy. This is probably going to be a wipe on the Devastators. We had a grenade as well as Noisy using Dark Flames. I think he even used Coruscating Flames on himself. And the Devastator is not getting out of the building. Which, if anything, is actually the smart thing to do, because that might actually save them. If they did get out, the Sorcerer would probably have gotten them. So actually good. So that was actually the right play for Riku to actually keep those Devastators in the building. Eerie, unfortunately, I think being forced to back off a lot. Oh man, so many jump units. We have double Raptors and on top of Assault Space Marines as well. All of them with 4 out of 4 models, and the disruption for that whirlwind probably saving these tactical marines. Would have had to retreat through 2 squads of raptors and 1 squad of assault space marines. This should also be a pretty big. This should also be probably get a nice gen bash over here with 3 different melee squads, many of which have that aspiring champion or the sergeant to give them some extra damage. But Adila is actually chasing after the whirlwind with his assault space marines, but that's ultimately not going to do much because he's going to get that. Oh, but a Manticore Strike is going to. Manticore Strike actually wipes his own generators. But some of the raptors are still getting hit, but not actually taking that much damage. But I think this is the red team's counterattack, and I think they are ultimately going to win this counterattack. Scouts, if anything, in quite a bit of trouble. I think they will just be able to get out of there since they're only dealing with range damage at the moment, but they kind of just walked into a little too much ranged fire. A double cap for the blue team, pretty even VPs. It has felt like to me that it's been mostly the red team with more of... Actually, no, the blue team with more of the VPs. The red team right now with the bigger armies. Noisy has a Dreadnought coming out. Not a bad choice because he needs something to do AV, and this gives him one of the best sources of AV he can get, especially if he upgrades to Tzeentch, as well as giving him a vehicle himself that his opponents are going to have to respond to with AV. Oh my god, these Chaos Space Marines in a lot of trouble. I think pretty lucky that it was only 1 model back over there by the VP, and the other 2 models were a little farther ahead. But red team pretty well established up here. Definitely going to get this cap off. Riku choosing to use capture with his scouts, which is the right choice because all of these other units that are a lot more effective at fighting get to actually continue fighting instead of being taken out of the fight to capture a point. Meanwhile, down here, I feel like I haven't been paying as much attention to Redbeard and Max Power. Redbeard, the one with those generators at the bottom, but Max Power certainly answering back with this Force Commander. Thunderhammer, probably Artificer, yep, and Teleporter Pack. And now it's Riku and the red team deciding to pressure with a Generator Bash. He's attacking ground, so that he's destroying damaging 2 generators at once. Unfortunately, he does have to back off because this Dreadnought is approaching, and the Dreadnought will counter pretty much any of these units in melee. In fact, there's not a whole lot of good AV yet coming out from most of the players on the red team, but now we do have a missile attack. Melt-A-Bomb also upgraded on to the Assault Space Marines. That probably won't be enough to deal with the Chaos Dreadnought just yet, but it's a good way of scaring it off a bit. Again, we have these Devastators in the building taking another grenade, but I think they will survive it because of Angels of Death. So I feel like these Devastators pushing their luck a little bit, but still making it. Splash damage from the Dreadnought. Will that go through the building? No, not going through the building in this case. And the Dreadnought is taking damage from this Tactical Marine inside the garrison. We're having a lot of... Oh man, Eerie just wiped his... Eerie just wiped Dark Riku's... Eerie just wiped Dark Riku's Devastator squad that was inside that garrison. He did the Manticore Strike to try to take out this Dreadnought, but then he has started hitting Riku's Devastators inside the garrison. Are we going to need a Warp Global to get this Dreadnought out of there? I don't think so. It won't be in time. I don't think Noisy had enough red because he's been using all that red on Dark Flames as anti-garrison. Not a bad choice, I think, for the use of Dark Flames. Not such a great one either, since it's not really that great at it. But, I mean, it's just something that you can use. Stick Bombers swing and a miss. 2 Stick Bomber squads throwing a bunch of Stick Bombs, but not a single one of them hit anything. Down here, Max Power has a Razorback, not upgraded to extra armor yet, and possibly never. As well as some Stern Guard veterans, level 1. They also have Assault Marines from him, level 2, and a Plasma Cannon Devastator. I think he's pretty big fan of the Plasma Cannon Devastator, and I am a big fan of them myself. Manticore, I think, is getting a little bit over-aggressive right here. If the Raptors actually jumped and went for that Manticore, they would actually stand a decent chance of taking it out with all of the damage they can do. Oh, wait. And yes, I knew that was going to happen. I turned away from it just a little too fast, but Noisy just lost his grenade launcher Heretic Squad from that Manticore Strike. Grenade launcher heretics with no aspiring champion are very, very vulnerable to the Manticore, because the Manticore fires, I believe, yeah, fires 4 rockets, but you can actually wipe a heretic squad with just one of those rockets. So heretics very, very vulnerable to the Manticore. Might be worth it to get an aspiring champion just for that. And there we go. The Razorback goes down from infiltrated tank busters. Nice play. And these tank busters right here are still technically infiltrated. Scouts being pretty much unopposed. If I guess the sluggers right now are the shooter boys choosing to focus on the guardsmen. Now they actually turn and face the scouts. They actually do take a grenade blast. I think if the shooter boys turn and face the guardsmen again, they will win this fight. They're going for focusing down one guardsman squad a lot, but here comes the Manticore strike, and we just have a retreat from Redbeard, just doing the right thing. And now Eerie ending up retreating through his own Manticore, lucky to not really lose much through that. But anyway, here we have the Sorcerer again. Noisy doing his style of anti-garrison with the Sorcerer, actually using Coruscating Flame on himself as a source of anti-garrison, as well as sometimes using that Dark Flames. He is upgrading to get the Tome of Subjugation, that mind control ability from the Sorcerer. Now actually makes units invulnerable that are subjugated. Some more stick bombs going in. Actually, I feel like they were in the retreat path of those Catachan Devils, but those Catachan Devils were just running through too quickly to really actually take much damage from that. Oh my god, double Raptors jumping on the Plasma Cannon Devastator. That might be it for the Plasma Cannon Devastator, and yes it is. So that is one of the things that can be very, very powerful about a double Raptor or double Assault Space Marine play. If you jump a single unit, especially something like a setup team, you can actually threaten to wipe it just because of the DPS coming out of 2 jump squads. Now, Raptors and ASM, both jump squads or melee squads, that have relatively low DPS for a melee unit, but when you have 2 of them, that kind of makes a bit of a difference. We have some subjugated Assault Space Marines that they had their jump wasted, and then they were sent into basically just enemy lines to just kind of set them up for death and failure. Didn't actually get a whole lot out of that though. Wasted the energy on those Assault Space Marines, but none of them actually really... Not a single model died, so not actually a lot was gotten out of that. Meanwhile, Redbeard seems to be hitting Adila with his stick bombs. More Manticore strikes. Does Eerie have a second Manticore? No, he has just one. And Eerie apparently just lost a squad of Stormtroopers. The Apothecary from Adila is fully kitted out, has the Mastercrafted Bolter, turns the Apothecary into a ranged hero. Can be pretty nice just to keep him in that support role and give him some range damage as well as having that full auto ability. Has the Combat Stimulants, allowing him to do basically it's a buffing spell that you can use on your units. And of course he has the improved medical equipment to just give him more energy to use his spells, especially now that he's going to have, the Apothecary is going to have 3 abilities. So these double Raptors actually working out extremely well for Noisy. One of them at level 4, the other one at level 2. Working out well in part because the vehicle play from the red team has actually been very minimal. A vehicle in Noisy's lane would be a very big challenge for him to deal with. And of course, he would have to rely on his teammates for more support. And wow, he's got double Demon Mauls on his Raptors. You hardly ever see this on one squad of Raptors, and he's gone for 2 of them. And they do have an ability called Demonic Fury, which I have actually never used myself, and I rarely have ever seen it used. We also have a Commissar right here, fully upgraded himself with the Xenos Power Claw, Bionic Eye, and the Aura of Discipline. I think this Assault Space Marine squad right here might be in a little bit of trouble, but they do jump out of there. We have Devastators in buildings. Alright. Oh, that's got to be the end of this Devastator squad right here, taking shots from the Noise Marines, the Sonic Blaster Noise Marines, and eventually, even if they get out, there we go. So wow, a lot of things that just got destroyed. The Manticore is apparently done. Eerie lost a squad, and so has the Whirlwind. But now we have a Leman Russ out from Eerie, and this is that vehicle play that, you know what? As much as I said this could be a potential problem for Noisy, Noisy is now in level... He's now in tier 3. So I think he could upgrade to Meltaguns on his Raptors, unless getting the Demon Maul shuts you out of that upgrade, which I have no idea whether or not it does. We even have an Executioner Leman Russ, really going to give this Leman Russ an anti-infantry capability, but here's a rocket run. Maybe it's going to take out the Raptors. Gets very, very close. I think if we have some follow-up, if we just have a little bit more follow-up, we might have dead Raptors. Redbeard actually even using the infiltration global from probably Hide the Boys from the Kommando Nob to infiltrate this nearly dead Raptor champion. So Noisy actually very, very lucky not to lose his Raptors from that rocket run, which is great because it means he gets to preserve leveled Raptor squads, which is really, really good. And a double cap for the blue team. Somehow VP is still very, very even. Right now it looks like the blue team is pretty much dominating in terms of their unit composition. Here we have some subjugated Tactical Marines, potentially supposed to be used as a source of AV against this Leman Russ, but now they just have to retreat through a bunch of stuff. But unfortunately, it's not working out that well. Subjugation not as good as it used to be now that units can be made invulnerable. Land Raider Redeemer out for Adila and he's... Oh wait, this is actually Riku's Land Raider... No, this is Riku's Land Raider Redeemer. This is Adila's Land Raider Redeemer. And this is Max Power's Land Raider Redeemer. Alright. Meanwhile, we're following that up with a Predator tank from Adila. We also have some Kashyyyks coming out for Eerie. Tank Buster Barrage going in on the Land Raider. Did almost like 700 damage. Not a bad choice. And the looted tank as well, but I think the looted tank is in a little bit of trouble, outclassed a little bit by many of these other heavier vehicles, and there are plenty of missile launcher attacks flying around. Assault Space Marines going for a Melt-A-Bomb, and not such a good time to go for it. Nearly sacrifice themselves just going for a Melt-A-Bomb on the Land Raider. Not really worth it. Meanwhile, back up here, it's Dark Riku's Land Raider coming in to deal with these. Are we going to see another frag assault? Yes, we are on those Raptors. Raptors actually take, so far, okay, one Raptor model down. Not as many as I thought there would be, but Assault Space Marines going right here. They're attacking the bunker. They're not going to do much, although they could use their blind grenades that come from Thunder and Lightning on the building, although they chose not to. Nobody ever uses that ability. Meanwhile, back down here, we have, oh my god, squads dying. I keep missing squads dying. Catachan Devil's gonna be done, and so is this Land Raider Redeemer. Oh my god, look at these vehicles just pushing into the base. Looted tank misfires. And what is this? We're gonna see the multi-melt, I think. No, the looted tank, I think, got the last shot on that Land Raider. Very aggressive play. Meanwhile, this Predator tank is overextending itself a bit. One more shot of something like this Lascan and Devastator takes out the Predator tank. And I feel that, like, the Leman Russ is actually not such a great position. Needs to back out of there. And disruption from that Force Commander. He's in there. Could hardly see him at first until he started disrupting everything. Meanwhile, we got this Land Raider Redeemer taking some las cannon shots. So one Land Raider is down. Catachan Devil's now in a little bit of trouble. Taking a lot of shots, but I think they will just get out of there fine. Even though they lose one of their squad leaders at level 3. Raptor's still right here. Kind of jumping in with not a whole lot of health. Come very, very close to taking out this Devastator Marine squad. And this Devastator is actually going to retreat towards this Land Raider right here. Meanwhile, I think Noisy's Raptor is still in a little bit of trouble. This one still has 4 out of 4 models somehow. And there we saw a Kashyyyk die. So Max Power has now lost a lot of things. He's now got Terminators, upgrades to the Cyclone Missile Launcher. I'm noticing that he's been liking that Cyclone Missile Launcher, and you know what? I think he's got something going there. And part of what's going on with that Cyclone missile launcher is that you're adding another dimension of play to your Terminators, because you're giving them that ability, which can be used for disruption, area of effect, as well as even some anti-vehicle, which they don't get if you get an assault cannon, which is just an increase in DPS, which is kind of like a force multiplier, but doesn't actually improve the, basically doesn't actually improve or give you more dimensions or functionality out of your Terminators. So, Noisy's still subjugating a few things, and Noisy now with a double Blastmaster Noise Marines. That's kind of like his source of AV right now, and he can actually use that against all these Land Raiders and such. Meanwhile, Lehman Russ still going around at level 2 now at 870 hit points, still with that 35% damage resistance, making it a very, very tough tank. But not a whole lot of AV damage coming out of it. Still some, because it does plasma cannon damage, but it's more of an anti-infantry tank right now. Oh, I think the Force Commander's going to go down right here. Actually taking melee hits from the Stick Bombers. The Stick Bombers using their melee prowess, but actually he's going to get out of there just fine. Double cap now for max power. The VPs have been so even for this whole game. I've basically mostly just been watching the battles, but the VPs are just being kept pretty much even, quite amazingly. Adila looking very, very thin right now. Lost scouts, lost a lot of things, but he has the Land Raider, which is, of course, very, very good. And it's red team now pushing back into the middle. Eerie with quite some pretty formidable ranged firepower, I think. Will come with Kashrikins, Guardsmen, as well as Catachandels. We have some... Oh, here's an Imperial Abyss, and those Assault Marines jump right into the Imperial Abyss. I wonder if those were even subjugated Assault Space Marines that jump right into the Abyss. Also, an Orbital Bombardment taking out a bunch of Redbeard stuff. Here's the Rocket Run as well. Oh my god, Redbeard is getting hit really, really hard. Alright, now we got some Terminators from Adila. These with no upgrades so far, and I feel getting a little too close, kind of leading the charge. Well, I mean, they certainly can lead the charge. Although, Terminators, regular ranged Terminators are actually best kept at a distance. Meanwhile, the Force Commander definitely going to go down here. No! Wow, but something else went down. I think those Sluggo Boys from Redbeard, just from these Terminators doing so much range fire. But Red Team definitely keeping the VPs right now. Noisy, unfortunately, takes some losses. He still has 2 squads of level 4 Raptors, but he lost both of his Noise Marines. He does have a squad of level 4 Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines, but he can't take the top because he has no AV whatsoever. Alright, they're going to go top. Redbeard has a Rocks ready, but they have very, very little time. Noisy saying he's going to teleport in the Phobos. That's going to be fun. But they're really, really running out of time. Don't know what's going to happen right here. Don't know if they have the time to do this. Alright, here's the Phobos. Which is a nice trick. But I think it might be too late. Oh, Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines just straight up going for the decap. I don't think they're going to get it, though. There's the rocks on the Land Raider. Oh my god, but these Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines really do need to capture the point now, because that will be it. If they don't capture, there's... Alright, I think they might just barely get the decap off in time. Unfortunately, a Manticore is now unloading on the Phobos. Alright, decap stopped just in time, but this, I think the Phobos is dead. And a lot of things are dying. Oh my god, Noisy losing all this stuff. Noisy losing those level 4 Raptors, trying to keep that Land Raider busy, but the Land Raider doesn't die, and the Phobos is actually going to go down. And Noisy calling a GG because he's about to lose everything. He gets a double cap off, but I don't think the blue team could hold it, because there are just too many red team tanks moving in. Noisy about to lose literally everything. Guardsmen from Eerie might even go down. Nope, they're just fine. And there we go. Terminator's coming right here to get the cap off. Redbeard. And Redbeard is out of there. We have a Dark Flames, which is going to do nothing. So, alright, 1-1. I don't think, yeah, there's nothing the blue team is going to be able to do about this. I mean, they take out a Predator, but unfortunately, not enough. Force Commander still fighting here to the end. Scouts fighting till the end. And there's the 2-1 cap. And that's going to be the game in favor of the red team. Alright, good game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you to Max Power for sending in this replay. And as always, have a good night.